Welcome back. Before we take a look at the day's business news, let's take a look at the stock indices across the GCC. Dubai's main stock index jumped 4% in the opening minutes of trade, rising above the 3,000-point level for the first time since November 2008, after the Emirate won the right to host the Expo. The market is up across the board, but is led by construction and property firms, as well as others which could benefit from another leg up by the real estate market, including Dubai Investments, which has land near the Expo site, climbing 5.2%, and Emaar Properties gaining 3%. Neighbouring Abu Dhabi's index rose 0.9%. UAE stock markets were forecast to rise sharply today after Dubai's victory, but some analysts and fund managers think the leg up may last no more than a few days or perhaps a few hours. Analysts are forecasting that the win will trigger billions of dollars of investment in the coming years, with real estate and hospitality firms benefiting from Expo-related infrastructure spending in the long term. The Dubai index closed at 2,899 points on Wednesday. It faces major technical resistance in October's multi-year highs of 2,953 points, but this could now break, with analysts expecting the index will spark a run to challenge monthly target levels of 3,030 by today, and then should gradually head higher to 3,100 and 3,251 in the coming weeks. Air Arabia and flydubai held discussions with Indian officials earlier this week to discuss expanding operations into the eastern state of Odisha, according to local reports. Representatives from the Sharjah and Dubai-based airlines attended a meeting in New Delhi with Indian aviation officials and representatives from the Odisha government, where they invited to expand operations to Bhubaneswar, a city in Odisha. Other international carriers such as Thai Airways, as well as Indian domestic airlines, including SpiceJet and Indigo, were also present at the meeting and invited to expand their operations into the eastern Indian state. Expansion plans into the highly lucrative Indian market by Air Arabia, flydubai, or any other UAE carrier is dependent on a new bilateral agreement between the UAE and Indian government. Along with Air Arabia and flydubai, UAE Airlines, Etihad Airways and RAK Airways currently fly into the Indian market. The bilateral agreements also grant Indian carriers access to destinations in the UAE. This comes after Abu Dhabi's flagship carrier, Etihad Airways, has all but sealed its future with its Jet Airways tie-up approved last week. According to officials from Abu Dhabi's Department of Economic Development, the removal of a cap on rental increases in Abu Dhabi is unlikely to trigger inflation in the housing market as new supply comes online. Rashid Al-Zabi, the acting director of planning and statistics at the department, was quoted in a local daily as saying that market forces would ensure that there would be no major increase in rents, adding that the council had conducted studies on what impact the lifting of a cap would have on the rental market. Abu Dhabi's Executive Council announced last week that it had abolished the annual extension of the cap on rental increases of 5%. The new rules were made effective from November 10. The rental cap was formalised in 2006 at 7% and subsequently revised down to 5% in 2010. Property brokers have reported that the capital's prime neighbourhoods are beginning to experience an increase in rents after years of oversupply in the market, with the rises caused in part by an Abu Dhabi government decree in September 2012 requiring government employees to live in the Emirate or risk losing their house allowance. Average rents in Abu Dhabi increased by 1% in the third quarter of the year compared to the previous quarter, slowing significantly from a 4.5% increase in the second quarter. Alda Properties, Abu Dhabi's largest property developer, announced on Wednesday that it has raised $750 million via a 5-year sukuk. The company said the sukuk was 3.5 times oversubscribed amid considerable interest from investors in Asia, the Middle East and Europe. The transaction represents Alda's first debt capital markets issuance since the merger with Suruh. The sukuk comes as Alda said earlier this month that third quarter earnings nearly doubled to 407.5 million dirhams, compared with 205.7 million dirhams in the corresponding period of 2012. Abu Bakr Siddiq Al-Khoury, chairman of Alda, was quoted in a local daily as saying that the sukuk marks an important milestone for Alda, and the company is pleased with the overwhelming response by the local and international investors in our transaction.